Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I just want y'all to know how much I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to watch one of my videos. I really appreciate it. And if you don't mind, hit that share and subscribe button and like button. Help me out greatly. What I want to talk about today is one of my favorite techniques. I fish this technique all year long, but it works really well in the fall, and that's fishing boat docks. I have won a lot of money on boat docks. There was one weekend, I take that back, it's 2 weekends. We fished one tournament one weekend, went back and fished again the following weekend. Is fishing over on North Fork Lake in Arkansas, and we got on a boat dock bite, and it was early in the year, spring of the year, and we found the pattern on the docks. We caught a few out on the outside of the dock, but then we got to noticing. Sorry, we're moving up in line. I'm in line getting to pick up the kids from school. Then we got to noticing that we started catching a lot more fish under the floats on the walkways in the shallower water. So we found a pattern within the pattern, and I guess you could say we found a pattern within a pattern within a pattern. We started noticing we was catching more fish in behind the docks, and then we narrowed it down. We was catching more fish off of the floats under the walkways that leads out to the docks, and so we just started going from dock to dock. We quit fishing the outside because we was only catching one or two once in a while, and most of our fish and a lot of our bigger fish was oh good, I'm in the shade, was coming under that walkway. But anyway, we found that pattern, was working it. We just started going from dock to dock to dock. We wouldn't mess around with the outsides or the sides of the dock. We went straight to the back of the dock and started pitching our soft plastics and jigs around the docks, backside of the docks, and especially under those walkways. We caught a lot of them on a Texas rig lizard. We was throwing a big 8-inch lizard up there, and they was hammering it. And the same thing will happen during the fall of the year. They will start moving back up in that shallower water and getting on the back side of the docks, getting up there where they can chase the shad and get up in there where all the crawdads are and that kind of thing, bluegills. So you want to follow the fish and see where they are on the dock. I always start out kind of a longer cast away from the outside edge of the dock. I'll throw to one of the corners on the dock and fish it. I'll make a longer cast up into the stall of the dock, and if I don't get bit, then I move in closer and I start picking it apart, trying to find out where those fish are. If I can find them with a kind of a longer cast on the outside of the dock, I can keep my boat away from the dock and won't spook them so bad. There's a lot of sunshine. You'll want to go to the shaded part of the dock. You fish the stalls and whatever side has the shade on it, and then fish under floats, the walkway floats, and then some of those docks has these big pads attached to them where they swim, a swim pad. And even though it's just a little thin rubber mat that's floating on top of the water, those fish will get under that thing. And I've caught a lot of fish out from under those little old things as well. I've also caught some huge bass out from under these big inner tubes that they have attached to those docks. I was on Beaver Lake and up around Rocky Branch, and there was a dock over there, and I had this big inner tube attached to it. And just about every night tournament we went to that year, we could throw up in there and around that inner tube. Plus there's a light on the dock too, and we would usually smash a monster coming off of that thing, and had our line broke a few times, but I've won a lot of money off of docks, and that's one of my favorite ways to fish, because if I can find them on a dock pattern, I can just run the lake and fish every dock around in that pattern and have a limit pretty quick. You'll want to pay attention where you're at, what kind of water depth that your dock is in, what kind of water clarity, the temperature, what kind of bottom there is. Maybe a rock bottom, maybe a pea gravel bottom, maybe a mud bottom, maybe visibility from a few inches to a foot deep of visibility, or it may be 3 or 4 feet of visibility. But either way, you want to pay attention to where you get the bite and on the dock, and what it is around the dock that may make it a special place. Like I said, big rocks or wood, whatever. And just start picking it apart after you make your initial longer cast to the corners and into the stalls. Then you want to start working down the edges and skipping up and under the walkways on the docks, skipping up and under boats, pitching between the boat lifts and the dock. You may just have 3 or 4 inches of clearance, but you can pitch a jig or a plastic in there, or a swim jig, and pitch it in there and work it out. And those kind of places where your biggest ones is going to be is where people can't reach real easy. If you're early in the morning, then a lot of times you can find those fish right on the corners of the dock. And then as the day progresses and the sun gets up, then you want to move into the shade, and that's when you'll want to go into those areas it's hard to reach. Just fish down the edges and get to the back and pick it apart. Pick the back apart. Pitch around any cables going down in the water, any beams going down in the water. If you don't have floating docks or stationary docks, they'll have wooden legs going down in the water. Just pick it apart and find out where the fish is at on the dock. And once you find where most of the fish is at on the dock, you can just hit those areas on that dock in a hurry and move on to the next dock and get your limit, and usually catch at least 1 or 2 big ones to go in your limit, and usually you can cash you a check if you can get a couple of big ones to bite and get a good limit. Those 2 weekends, that first weekend we got second place and got a $2,000 check, and the next weekend we ended up getting a $4,000 check. And there was one dock that we caught. It was just a little bit over 31 pounds of fish that we caught off of one dock. But we found something special on that one dock that we couldn't duplicate anywhere else in the lake. And it was a concrete walkway that they had built from their house that went way out into the lake, and the water was up because it's springtime. And they kept that their walkway over that concrete walkway, and that sidewalk going down into the water, and their ramp wheels was on that concrete walkway, and those bass was all over that concrete. It was a little bit warmer right there around that concrete, and plus it's springtime of the year and they was getting ready to spawn. And so they was all over that concrete. So if you can find something a little special, and you can find another dock like that anywhere in the lake, which we couldn't, but we just fished the walkway floats on all the docks, and we got some good stringers at those 2 weeks. And I've got a lot of good stringers since then, by fishing boat docks and figuring out the patterns within that pattern. Some of my favorite baits to use is, of course, a jig, a True Faith custom bait jig. I will throw a Texas rig creature bait, like a brush hog, or a rodent, and fighting frog. Also, I'll pitch a wobblehead fighting frog in there, and of course I've got to skip a buzz bait up and under there. If it's right conditions, I'll be throwing a spinner bait around them. Under the right conditions, if it's cloudy and windy, throwing a spinner bait, and spinner bait and buzz bait. I'll be throwing on a 7'3" medium heavy action rod, 6.2 to 1, 6 point whatever, reel. I don't think it matters, just whatever you're comfortable with on reels. And I'll have them on anywhere from 15 to 20 pound fluorocarbon. My jigs and plastics will be on a 7 to 7'3" medium heavy to heavy action rod with 15 to 20 pound fluorocarbon. And then if I start throwing anything other than that, most time I can pick them off with any of those baits. And don't have to go to a shaky head or anything. Usually I can throw, if I can't get them to bite the fast moving baits, power fishing baits, I'll either throw a tube or a shaky head around the dock, and usually get them to hit it and figure out where they're at and what they want. But most of the time I can get them on a power fishing technique, a moving bait. So anyway, if you use a swim jig or spinner bait, you can get them to get the suspended fish with a swim jig or a spinner bait, and figure out what depth they are, and run those baits at that depth. Anyway, I'm getting ready to have a carload of kids, and it's going to be loud. So if you have any questions for me about boat dock fishing, feel free to leave comments down below. And I hope you have a blessed week, and I will see you out on the water.